I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us. This hour is not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be very difficult. We're going to learn a lot more about what happened to a little girl named Madeline Soto down in Florida. Had just celebrated her 13th birthday. This picture from the prior birthday. She was murdered. She was living with her mother, Jenn, and her mother's boyfriend, a man named Stephan Stearns. He's the one charged with her murder. He's charged with a whole lot more than that. He's been arrested. He's waived all his appearances in court, so we haven't really heard much from him except the television interviews that he did. WFTV got an interview with him. Tonight, right now, what I'm going to play for you just released audio of his police interview. And remember, at this time, in terms of context, Madeline Soto is missing. She hasn't been found murdered yet, and they haven't found all of those images on the phone of Stephan Stearns yet. Let's take a listen.
I know that you already spoke to the other detective, right, about everything that kind of happened today. If you can just kind of go over it with us one more time, the timeline from like when you guys woke up and took her to school and all that.
So we woke up early. The plan was that we were going to get McDonald's breakfast on the way, so we made an amazingly good time getting
I don't mean
out
to
the door.
interrupt you, okay? Neither of us were here yesterday, so if you can be kind of like specific about like times and stuff like that, okay?
Woke up around 7:15, somewhere around there, which is an early start for us, but we had talked about getting McDonald's breakfast beforehand, so we wanted to make good time. We did make good time. We got out the door maybe 7:30-ish, 7:45-ish, maybe. Got over to that area. She was asleep in the car most of the time, just snoozing until we got there. We got to McDonald's, or close to McDonald's. I said, "You still want it?" She wasn't interested in the McDonald's anymore, so we continued on. And she wanted to be dropped off a little down the ways from the school. She's got this phase that she's been into lately where she's very particular about what car she's seen getting out of in front of the school. She prefers her mom's car, but my cars are, I guess, kind of hoopties. I get it. It's an image thing. But that was sometime probably between 8:20 and 8:40-ish, somewhere in there. It was along the stretch of the road that on the right side that has all the communities on it. Before you get to the overpass. You could see the overpass from where it was. So it was on that side, on that stretch of road, and that's where I dropped her off. And she said she was going to go wait for her friends. She was going to go find them and hang out and wait for her friends. And I asked if that was going to be okay. She said, "Yeah, it's fine. Kids get dropped off early enough as it is. It's not totally unusual for that to happen. It's just not usually that early that I drop her off. I do school runs every once in a while for her." I said, "Okay. Let her out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too." And I turned around and was driving away and was watching her in my rearview mirror to make sure that she was going where she was supposed to go, and she was moving in that direction, but she was rummaging around in her backpack for something. What I assumed was probably headphones or something like that, but I found out later that she forgot her phone here, so she may have been rummaging for her phone. But she was still kind of making her way towards that direction, so it looked okay. It looked like any other day, and I just continued on.
After you dropped her off, what did you do?
They had talked to her for a minute. I made sure, is it all right that you're going early? Because it was still early. And she said, "Yeah, it's fine. I'm going to hang out and wait for my friends to get there," which she does sometimes, so it didn't sound outrageous or anything. And that was it. Told her to have a good day. I loved her. She told me she loved me too. I turned around to leave, and I was watching her in my rearview mirror. And she looked like she was walking in the right direction. She was rummaging in her bag a little bit, like I said, but still sort of just shambling in the right direction while she was doing it. So it looked normal. It looked okay.
Okay, and then what did you do after you left the area?
I left to go to the local vape shop because I needed some more vape juice. They weren't quite open yet, so I ended up going back home. Waited about an hour or so and then went back and checked the vape shop again. It was open, so I got what I needed there and came back.
Do you remember what time you came home?
The first time was probably right around 10, close to it. And then I waited here and went back to the vape shop. Probably finished at the vape shop and came back home again a little after 11.
And then what'd you do after that?
I had a couple errands to run over on 192. She was talking about making a BJ shopping list. She just wanted to make sure I was back in time for us to both go pick up. So I was visiting some card shops around the area on 192. I'm kind of a nerd, so we had a new trading card game release, and I was seeing what the situation was with it.
Do you remember what places you visited?
Yeah, Coliseum of Comics. Stopped by a couple Targets, and I was going to go to House Rules Games down by Oak and 192. But I didn't make it that far. I got a flat tire on the way.
Do you remember where you got your flat tire?
It was on 192. I pulled into one of those plazas somewhere. It's been about 10 years since I switched out a tire, though, so I made a lot of rookie mistakes and ended up pinning my thumb between the frame and the jack. Yeah, I'm lucky it's not a lot worse than it could have been. Remains to be seen if I'll keep
Do you remember the name of the plaza by any chance? Do you remember like what stores were in this plaza?
It was like right before you got to Oak, though, so it was one of those little strips.
Okay.
I don't know, you've probably been asked already, but she's never ran away or been away for longer than a certain period of time, amount of time, nothing like that.
No, she's very dependent on us. I don't think she'd know what to do if she did run away. She's not the type. She's a good kid.
Besides the ADHD, is she diagnosed with anything else?
Yeah, she was tested a while back and had some symptoms of autism, so she's potentially on the spectrum there.
Okay.
She was officially diagnosed with it when she was younger, and then she was retested and said, well, she shows symptoms of being on the spectrum, but maybe not full-on autistic.
When did you come back to help Brittany?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like, because you live down south, right? Mm-hmm. When did you come back up north to help her?
I just got here this weekend.
Do you remember what day it was?
Sunday was her birthday party, so yeah, it was the evening after her birthday party, Sunday.
Okay. Do you remember what time you got here on Sunday?
8:30ish, maybe.
Okay.
Just in time to make sure that she was doing all her nighttime routines. And waiting for her mom to get home.
Did you guys go anywhere last night? Was that media?
Maybe. I think Fox 35 or something was coming.
Yeah.
If it is, let me tell him he needs to take it out.
Okay.
I don't recall. You have to ask her if we went anywhere. I don't recall. I was so zonked out on Ativan at that point.
Okay.
It was a wreck. I don't think...
And this would have been when?
Yes, thank you.
I don't recall us going anywhere last night, but honestly, at that point my brain was mush and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. It's just...
You said Ativan?
Yeah.
You make a U-turn, you go back to the McDonald's, but you said that she still doesn't want the McDonald's.
Still doesn't want it. She was just going to eat the Danishes that I had given her.
So you're going up here now, still northbound on Jongyang Parkway. Mm-hmm. You make a left at Town Center this time.
Town Center, then make a right onto, yes.
And then you drop her off around like...
Dropped her off around halfway up the road there.
Okay. So keep in mind, all of this is still northbound.
Okay.
Right? You're still northbound on Jongyang Parkway.
Northbound.
So why is your car seen going southbound at 8:10? I'll show you what location it is. McDonald's is over here. Mm-hmm. At 8:10, your car is seen going southbound at this intersection. So meaning going toward Kissimmee.
I had forgotten something. I had forgotten my gate clicker. I'm sorry. I forgot. I had gone back to the house real quick after we left because I forgot my gate clicker. I actually had to go through the front gate and use my parking pass to grab my clicker. So it was the wrong time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was guesstimating these times. I'm not a morning person.
I don't think I have any other questions. Do you, Louis?
I don't know where my head was yesterday. It was so far up my backside.
That's okay. We understand. In the meantime, while we're waiting for all this to get sorted out, I am going to hold on to your phone, okay? I'll give it back to you when we're done. Okay? Do you have any questions for us?
How long are you going to need my phone?
I'm not sure. I'm waiting for my supervisor to call me.
My dad. No, it's just my dad's using that to get a hold of me and get updates.
They can call Jen's phone.
Okay.
Did the other detective give you his business card?
I believe so.
Okay, well, here's mine in case you want it for any reason.
Okay.
Okay? Do you swear that everything you told us is true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. I know it's a little hectic right now.
There's a lot in there. There's a lot. Let's get to some of it, but I need some help. Let's bring in our special guest. Joining us in Orlando, Florida, WFTV investigative reporter Shannon Butler. Also with us, editor of the Osceola News-Gazette, Ken Jackson, and board-certified forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman, and finally, distinguished scholar of applied forensics, host of the extremely popular Body Bags podcast, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan. Great to see everyone. Okay. I know everyone's been listening and going through it. There's tons of papers to go through as well. A busy day. We appreciate everyone being here. Shannon, I'll begin with you. Couple of things that he's talking about in this timeline. It doesn't jive with some of the other evidence here.
No, and you could tell that the investigators already knew that during that questioning. They had already tracked his car and where it went. They knew that where he said he went, he wasn't. He wasn't at Target. He wasn't at the comic store. He wasn't any of those places. They knew because they already had trackers and license plate readers and all sorts of things that tracked his car. And they also had video of him. If you listen, he says that he had that flat tire. That's so important because remember, he got that flat tire in the same location where Madeline Soto's body was found. It wasn't in a strip mall or shopping center or anywhere where he said it was. This was also the first time, Vinnie, we heard about that McDonald's trip that they were going to take in the morning. That is not a story that they told us when we interviewed them. That's not a story that they told the original responding officers at the time. That was something new in that interview that he added. And you can't hear it all, but he did say, oh, she didn't want to go, so we decided not to go. And people have said to us, like, well, what kid wasn't going to want to go to McDonald's in the morning if you had all this time? The timeline doesn't make sense. The time that he left the house, he said he saw the backpack, her rummaging through her backpack. He had already thrown it in the dumpster by then. None of this story made sense, and they already knew it. And remember, this interview was done just the day after she was reported missing.
Right. It's the next day. Okay, Ken, listening to this, going through the papers, everything else, he's talking about she forgot her phone, but also talking about going on 192. Now, I sort of remember 192 when I worked with Shannon years ago, but I don't exactly remember 192. Give us a little more perspective on what he's talking about, going to some plaza on 192 versus where Madeline's body was found. And do we know anything about this vape shop?
Sure. Well, where this is all not plausible is 192 is both south of the home where they live, and also the school is quite a bit north of the home. To get to 192, you would have to go on south and backtrack past the home. Shannon brought up a good point about the flat tire. We know that he was stopped on Hickory Tree Road in St. Cloud, which is 25 miles east of where he said the flat tire was in the plaza at Oak and 192. Something else that I picked out of this here is that he mentioned that when asked if Madeline would have been predisposed to run away, and he said that that she was very dependent on them. When all this started and the search started back on February 26th, 27th, it noted that one of the things that was said was that when she turned 13, she wanted to go live in the woods. Okay, that flies in the face of saying that, you know, that she's very dependent on her mom and him. So there's a lot of things here that have been, that just do not jive.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, listening to this accused murderer, this accused sex offender, this accused pedophile, across the board, awful, awful accusations. What do you hear in his voice? And what did you think of his description of Madeline being like, well, she's on the spectrum, not autistic, but on the spectrum?
Well, this was, I mean, the whole 43 minutes of it was just chilling. It's interesting how he was going along thinking that the police didn't know anything, you know, that he could just tell this story. And he told such details. And I know that that's supposed to be a red flag that someone is lying. And of course, he was lying through his teeth. But you know, he's not the brightest bulb in the shed. And how he thought he was going to remember all those details is another thing. You know, the fact that, yes, that she was ADHD, she had ADHD, and she was on the spectrum, but he kind of didn't want to admit that she was, you know, he was trying to hedge on that one. But, you know, also, he talked about being on Ativan. You know, he was so trying to make a point that he was so out of it at that time. And then he went to the vape shop, too. So I was thinking whether he was trying to make a case. I mean, at that point, he still thought he, you know, until there was that gotcha moment when they said, no, you weren't going north, you were going south, or vice versa. But, you know, I was wondering if he was trying to make a case for his not being fully present whenever he did what he did, you know, whenever he killed her, allegedly.
Looking a little ahead. Joseph Scott Morgan, I have two things for you. Number one, he said he fed her Danishes. That's something that you should be able to figure out in the autopsy, is my guess. And then your reaction to the moment when they take his phone and he's like, how long are you going to have that phone? What'd you think of that moment?
Yeah, first let me confirm, Vinnie, that, yeah, that is something that we would be able to easily appreciate at autopsy. So that's confirmatory evidence that we can shore up as a result of the autopsy. That's pretty standard stuff. I hope that the forensic pathologist was armed with that information prior to the start of the post. Now, as in regards to his reaction, yeah, I had, you know, I was kind of thinking about this just for a moment. He sees this thing slipping away from him, and we are to continue to understand this narrative as it unfolds. This is his little library that he has. This is what he has documented, allegedly, all of these horrible deeds that have been perpetrated on this child over a period of time. It's something that he would have kept close to his side. And, you know, the idea that his dad was trying to reach him seemed a bit thin to me, actually. And you can tell that there was no other comment that was made directed at him that he reacted in this manner. And you can tell he got a little bit rattled over because he knows where this could end up.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, stay with me. We're going to walk through a lot more that was released and revealed today. Up next. We take a look at the newly released timeline put together by investigators. What does it reveal about Madeline's mom, Jenn Soto? On the next episode of Accomplice to Murder.
This didn't seem like a random crime.
The shooting seemed personal.
Hemi Newman was certainly the last person who suspected something like this.
Hemi was manipulated.
They wanted to indict Andrea as the mastermind behind her husband's murder.
What clearly was an affair.
There was no affair. Who killed someone else's husband?
Accomplice to Murder with Vinnie Politan. All new episode, Sunday night, 8, 7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
We have a very strong bond. But, you know, I'm the person she goes to when her mom gets in a fight with her and she needs someone to comfort her. And like, I'm that person for her, you know. This girl knows nothing but love here in this house.
You listen to that from the interview of Stephan Stearns, knowing what the allegations are, and you listen to it in a whole different light. There were also a lot of documents released today. We're going to start going through them tonight. I want to begin by sort of putting together a little bit of a timeline of this investigation. We begin February 27th. Authorities confirmed that Madeline never arrived to school. They begin this investigation. In these documents, it's revealed that Detective Hunt interviewed, it's marked off, it's blacked, it's, you know, not shown, but Jenn Soto and Stephan during the initial phase of the investigation. During these interviews, Detective Hunt noticed some inconsistencies. Detective Tagler confronted Stephan about his locations during the interview, but Stephan would provide answers that did not match up to the vehicle location. Upon reviewing the security video, Detective Tagler observed Stephan's vehicle exiting the complex with the female wearing a green sweater in the front passenger seat. The female was slumped over to her left, which is an abnormal way for a person to be seated in a vehicle. Let's bring back in our guest. Shannon Butler, is this new? Did we know that they had seen her slumped on the way out as opposed to returning to the complex?
You know, I can't remember if that was officially known. We knew at the time that the sheriff had said, remember, he said, we can't really tell 100%, but we believe she was dead when she left the apartment complex. That's because of that video there where she was slumped. They believed that she looked like she was dead when she drove, or when he drove out of that apartment complex. So we did know that, but we didn't know exactly how she was positioned and why they came to that conclusion. They had other video too of her dumping the backpack and her laptop. So that helped a little bit with trying to make that statement from the sheriff. But they were pretty sure with that video that Madeline was not alive when she left that apartment complex. He did, though, we know that has not been released yet, but I have been told they do have other video of him moving her from the front seat of that car into another location before they say he dumped her body.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's get back to the timeline. Still February 27th, based on surveillance video, authorities request search warrants for the home and for Stephan Stearns' phone. Next day, while a search warrant is executed at the home, authorities begin going through Stearns' phone. Upon reviewing the contents of Stephan's phone, it was discovered several images were saved in a Google Drive. One folder that appeared to dedicated to Madeline contained over 1,700 files. A majority of these photographs, this is tough stuff, folks, and videos. Photographs and videos showed Madeline in different sexual positions. Based upon these images, Orange County detectives began to author an arrest warrant for Stephan Stearns. Ken Jackson, this was the first big moment in the investigation, and it was based upon what they found in the phone. Now we know it's photographs and videos, but 1,700 files.
Yeah, that number really doesn't shock me. When the documents from when the defense agreed to begin the discovery process, the state's attorney told them to have ready a drive with 1 terabyte of space. That's 1,000 gigs. That's 1 million megs. So I knew from that the amount of data was going to be large.
And you talk about large amount of data equals a large amount of abuse through the years, and he kept it all.
Well, we've said that we've heard that these that we can timestamp some of these back to 2022, when Madeline was 11.
Wow.
Hence the charges along the 60 of sexual assault on someone younger than 12. That's a span of 2 years.
Still February 28th. As the arrest warrant is being written, authorities begin to interview Jenn Soto. Here we go. Jenn Soto stated her and Stephan had been dating on and off for approximately 7 years. She stated while they were together, they would either all sleep in the same bed or would sleep with her when Stephan was not there. When asked if it was normal that Stephan and Madeline would sleep together without her being there, she said yes. Let that sink in. Jenn stated if she needed a good night's sleep due to her anxiety, she would ask them to sleep in a different bedroom. You've got a mother and her boyfriend living in this home with her daughter. Mom sleeps alone and sends Stephan off with his daughter to sleep in a different bedroom? Jenn did not want to believe that Madeline and Stephan were engaged in sexual activity. Well, it's not sexual activity, it's sexual abuse. Jenn asked to see the image of Stephan and Madeline. I pulled out a printed picture from Stephan's Google Drive that showed Madeline, I'm sorry, folks, I have to read it, with Stephan's penis in her mouth. Jenn said she didn't recognize anything in the picture, as if she was in denial. However, she became visibly upset. What's going on here, Dr. Carol Lieberman?
Yes,
with
well,
Jenn.
What's going on? Well, I'm sorry?
What's going on with Jenn Soto?
Yes, Jenn Soto should be charged already, although I guess they want her to help more with giving more information. But clearly, you know, when it said that she thought it was normal for a teen girl to sleep with her stepfather in the same bed with her stepfather, you know, one could give her the benefit of the doubt, which I am not inclined to do, and think maybe she meant it's normal, like that's how they, like usual, you know, that's what they usually did. Of course, you know, of course, the pictures that you just described, you know, for her to pretend, for her to be in denial, I don't think it was denial. I mean, she might have been shocked that they had those kinds of pictures, you know, right in front of her, the evidence. But she had to know. She had to have known. And then, of course, they said that she broke down after that she had a visible upset reaction. So, you know, I don't think this was the first time that she ever imagined this idea. And of course it's horrible. I mean, let me just say that up front, that the idea to think that it is normal or it is okay for a teen girl or any age child to sleep in the same bed as one's stepfather, one's boyfriend, it is absolutely not okay.
Let's continue the timeline. Police, still February 28th, excuse themselves and start to interview Stearns on his relationship with Madeline Soto. Stephan was asleep when I entered the room. Stephan stated, always, Madeline needed human contact when going to sleep. Stephan referred to it as snuggling. I asked Stephan if he had a Google account, and he stated he did. Stephan stated he did have pictures of him and Madeline saved to that account. When I asked Stephan about all the pictures he had saved, Stephan then asked if he should be talking to a lawyer. Shortly after that, Stephan requested an attorney. Stephan was arrested for sexual battery. Joseph Scott Morgan, I don't even have a question. What is your reaction to all of this as we're learning this from Jenn Soto and then Stephan about what's happening to this little angel?
He's documented every bit of this deplorable, horrible behavior along the way. And I don't want to step on Dr. Carroll's area here, but I do know this, having worked cases involving sexual predators and the deaths of children that are associated with this. One thing's kind of fascinating about these people that perpetrate these crimes on children. They prefer certain age sets many times. And, you know, a couple of those bracketed sets will run from approximately low end like 10 to 11 up to like 13 and 14. And then, and this is kind of an interesting thing to explore, they dispose of them in one way or another. Either they separate themselves from the victims or something fatal happens. And as horrible as this is with this precious child, I wonder if it had come to an end for him, because, you know, you said yourself, Vinnie, that these files are voluminous. What was it you said, like 1,700?
1,700 files.
Videography as well. So once she had no more utility for him, no more utility at all, I really wonder if this is what has occurred in this particular case. And I'll give you one more if you like that. I would be very interested as to any other children that he may have had contact with that hit in this particular age range over the past. And I hope that our friends in law enforcement are looking at this. They could take this back as far as they can. Yeah, they have.
And Jenn described the relationship on again, off again. So when he was away, who was he with then is the big question, right? Everyone's staying with us. When we come back, we have more of this newly released, extremely disturbing information, but now we understand what was happening to Madeline Soto, and the question tonight is, how did Mom let that continue?
She brings a lot of joy. She's a very good girl. It definitely doesn't feel the same around here if she's not here. She was so happy, too. She was looking forward to my visit here. She was looking forward to us all being together. She was just happy. She was just very happy. I loved her like she was my own.
She wasn't happy. There's no way she was happy. I've got this video was found on his Google Drive. Okay, I'm going to describe it again. It's bad. A video file depicting a prepubescent female resembling Madeline, who would have been 8 years and 4 months old. Madeline is laying next to Stephan in a bed watching cartoons on the television. Stephan is asking Madeline to put his penis in her mouth for 3 seconds as he counts. Stephan states Madeline would not be able to play with a phone unless she did it. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about tonight. There's a lot more to get through, but I want to bring back in our guests. It's tough. Shannon, I know you're still investigating this, going through all the papers. Anything else that you think we should know tonight that you've come across, or a question that you still have?
Well, that statement you just read just then, she was 8 years old. If you look through the documents, she was just 8 years old when that happened. That's the evidence that they could find all the way back to that age. That's a lot of years of abuse that he documented on that phone. We knew some of that information on the sexual abuse was very laid out. What we're still wondering is how they finally determined that he was the one who killed Madeline Soto and filed those charges. That interview and the interview from the next day does not quite show us that yet. We're still waiting on some of those documents. That's the question. The biggest question that I get and that all of us are asking is what will happen with Jenn Soto? And as early as Monday, I've had some conversations. We still don't know what police plan to do.
That is the big question in all this. Dr. Carol Lieberman, we don't have a lot of time here, so about 20 seconds or so. Why would he keep these? Why does he keep this stuff?
Because when he's not with Madeline, he can look at these pictures and videos, and he can pleasure himself and go over the incident, go over what that felt like and how he felt, how, relive the experience in his mind. And so that is almost as good as her being there.
Ken Jackson, about 15, 20 seconds for you. What's the biggest lingering question you have after the release of all this information?
There's still a gap in the timeline from after they say he dumped the backpack and the laptop in the dumpster about 8:10, and the timestamps when they found the car in St. Cloud about 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We still can't account for the late morning and the early afternoon on February 26th, that Monday.
Joseph Scott Morgan, again, we only have about 20 seconds for everyone here. We don't have the medical examiner's report, but what questions would that answer that we don't have tonight?
She, from what I've heard, she has sustained massive head trauma. And I think, for me at least, that car has to be torn apart from stem to stern. They need to look in every nook, every cranny, because if that is the case, that's just what I've heard. I can't verify it at this time. There would have been a copious amount of blood. So that would have to be accounted for, and that would put her in that car possibly in a post-mortem state.
Shannon Butler, WFTV, Ken Jackson, Osceola News-Gazette, Dr. Carol Lieberman, and Joseph Scott Morgan, Body Bags Podcast. Thank you all so much. Tough night, folks.